They are trying, of course, to present that this is NATO's war or whatever, and that they are fighting war with NATO. It's total absurd, and that's just a lie, another lie from Russia. None of the NATO countries or other countries is involved in the war. It doesn't mean that we are not able to defend ourselves, obviously. We are, and that's what we will do if necessary.
We've seen drones in Poland. One fell just 50 kilometers from the place we record this interview in. And there was also Russian aircraft over Estonia. Why do you think Russia is doing that? What's the purpose of those provocations?
Russian attacks against Ukraine, that's the whole reason these incidents are happening. So let's not get distracted. It's Russia's war against Ukraine in Ukraine. That is the reason for this behavior, and that is totally unacceptable. As for the drone incursions into Poland, we had a drone falling into Latvia. There has been a drone found in Romania and other countries, so Moldova. Again, this is part of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, and what it means for us, we have to be very aware that this is happening, that in our case, in Latvian case, it was not a targeted attack. It was clearly a drone that was jammed and that changed the direction and fell. But it's nevertheless very dangerous. So we have to have that ability to identify, detect early, and take it down when necessary. That's what happened in Poland, and this is what needs to be done. But again, early detection, identification, and then the layered defenses to take it down is something that has to be done. As for the airplanes in Estonian airspace, NATO reacted. It reacted in accordance with the procedures, so everybody recognizes that, and Russians were pushed out of the air zone, and it was very clear signaling Russia was testing, and the NATO responded. There are procedures in place, and everybody acted in accordance with those procedures. So that is a way also to make sure that Russia understands the messaging.
After this situation in Estonia, a lot of European leaders, for example, Polish foreign minister and Estonian defense minister, they said they are ready to shut down Russian planes that violate their airspaces. So do you think that would be the right reaction, and it will show Russia that maybe you don't need to violate our airspace?
In these types of situations, there is a clear protocol how to proceed. So important to act in accordance with the protocol. And if the protocol changes, if the rules of engagement changes, to tell the other side early on that there is a change in rules of procedure. And if that has happened, and there will be a different reaction so that the other side knows what will be the reaction, because it's important not to create also some type of vacuum of lack of understanding where we are.
And President Zelensky, when all this started to happening, he suggests that Russia might be showing the Europeans that maybe you need this aid that you're supplying to Ukraine. Maybe those air defense systems that you're supplying, they need to stay at your countries. And he said they might try to stop European countries from supplying Ukraine with air defense system. Do you agree with that? Do you think that also might be the reason?
Clearly, Ukraine is a country that is fighting Russian aggression, and we all are providing help to Ukraine in accordance with the UN Charter, the article under the self-defense, Article 51 of UN Charter. So we are not becoming party to the war, and Russians know it. They are trying, of course, to present that this is NATO's war or whatever, and that they are fighting war with NATO. It's total absurd, and that's just a lie, another lie from Russia. None of the NATO countries or other countries is involved in the war, but assistance to Ukraine is provided. It doesn't mean that we are not able to defend ourselves, obviously. We are, and that's what we will do if necessary.
Yeah, Russia always says that we are at war with NATO too, and I've heard a lot of people saying that the best option to respond to Russia is actually supplying Ukraine with more military aid. Do you think that that's it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's better to supply Ukraine, and Ukraine can respond.
Ukraine is doing its best, and it's heroic fighting. It's the war of liberation of Ukraine. And that's what Ukrainians are doing. And our obligation and our task is to help this war of liberation. Ukraine is fighting for the values of the United Nations, for Europe, and for the whole transatlantic community and the world.
We don't have a wealthy owner or political backing. We rely on our readers just like yourself to support our journalism. You can go to kyivindependent.com/membership and support us there. Russia possesses not only a threat from air, but also inside the EU. We've seen a lot of sabotage activities and espionage activities inside the EU countries. And Latvia has called on Europe to stop issuing visas for Russian citizens. And Latvia was citing security concerns. How do you think, is that an important measure to take, and how urgent is it?
There are two considerations. One is security consideration, the other is a political consideration. We are not issuing visas to Russian tourists or citizens, and that's from the first day of the war, so it's pretty strict. And we also think others shouldn't do that because, one, for security considerations, that if there are many Russian citizens traveling around Europe, the increase in possible sabotages, the security risks are increasing. That's our security services and Ministry of Interior view, to which we clearly align with. But also politically, there should be no business as usual. It should be no business as usual for Russians who largely support Putin's war. When you look at all the political polling in Russia, that they can just travel around as tourists in our countries and feel very comfortable.
Yeah, but Russian opposition, they are not united, but some voices, they say that if you stop issuing visas to Russian citizens, they're going to be working for Putin's war machine. They will join the army if they are not going to be able to leave Russia. So what will you respond to that?
Opposition, like anybody else, can have their views. Our view is different and our policy is different.
Latvia was pretty successful in reducing dependence on Russian oil and gas. And what we've heard, President Trump, he said he's ready to impose secondary tariffs on Russia's partners such as India and China. They are the major countries that are buying Russian oil and gas. And he said he's ready to do so only if NATO countries, sometimes he says NATO countries, sometimes he says European countries, if they stop buying Russian oil. And for example, in Europe, we know it's Hungary and Slovakia who still continue to buy it. What do you think should happen for these countries to stop
Well,
buying
actually,
it?
LNG is bought by quite a number of others, not just by Hungary and Slovakia. So our view is pretty straightforward. We decided, and it was a strict decision, to get rid of purchases of Russia's oil and gas. So since beginning of 22, we are not buying any Russian gas or oil. And we also disconnected from the electricity network that was connected to Russia. We didn't import electricity from Russia, but it was still a connection, so that has been cut. And we do believe that other countries should do the same, because we all want peace in Ukraine. While Russia is getting that income in the state budget, it's able to continue fighting the war, because they finance war from the budget, federal budget. So very clearly, the biggest income in the budget is from oil gas revenues. If we as international community don't buy that gas and oil from Russia, there is less income in the budget and there is less ability to fight the war. And that relates to China, India, any other country.
Europe has this plan to reduce its reliance on Russian oil by 2027. Do you think it could happen sooner?
It should happen sooner. It should happen. There are all the technical possibilities, there are alternative possibilities to provide oil, to provide gas, so it's all pretty straightforward.
And regarding security guarantees, Latvia has been strongly advocating for such guarantees in case of ceasefire. And we've seen the so-called coalition of willing. They say, yes, we are ready to provide Ukraine with such guarantees. And one of the ideas is putting foreign troops on the ground. Do you think such guarantee can prevent Russia from possible future aggression?
If there is a ceasefire, or when there is a ceasefire and some type of peace, the first task is to ensure that that peace arrangement is such that guarantees Ukraine's independence, democracy, that is just, which means that Ukraine should be able to retain its sovereignty, it should be able to retain full-scale military capabilities in terms of armed forces, and that it should be able to make its decisions on security and defense policy, foreign policy, associations, and so on and so forth. So as part of that, obviously, Ukraine's own ability to deter Russia also in the future is crucially important. And as part of that, international support is also future. So it's several elements in it there. But we still have to get there because we don't see that Russia wants peace. We don't see that Putin is supporting President Trump's initiatives to get to peace. So it's not an easy situation. There is only one person between President Trump and peace, and that is Putin.
President Zelensky, he suggested that Europe might start providing some kind of guarantees even before the ceasefire is enacted. Like he said, it might be air defense system, for example, supplying them more. Do you think that should work?
Again, I don't want to go into military considerations. Our militaries work together very well. Military intelligence, other security services work together very well. So I don't want to.
President Zelensky and Ukraine, they always say that Ukraine should join NATO as part of potential security guarantees. But we see that the Trump administration and Russia, of course, they oppose Ukraine's accession to NATO as part of such guarantees. Do you think it's essential for Kyiv to join the alliance?
I think currently it's not just US. There are other countries that are not yet on board. But in principle, political decision was made in 2008 that Ukraine will become a member of NATO. So the question then is that in accordance with the Washington Treaty, which is NATO's charter, there is consensus required. The country has to contribute to Euro-Atlantic security and it has to be a European country. So in our view, Ukraine fits the criteria. In other countries' view, it does not yet, and that's why there is no consensus yet. So at some moment that can change, like it changed also with regard to other countries who joined. Remember, the latest was Sweden, and before that Finland, and Montenegro, and North Macedonia. So, there are various scenarios how countries join NATO, and one day it will happen.